Motivation is a powerful force that drives us to take action and achieve our goals. At its core, motivation can be understood through several key concepts: definition, drive, incentive, and reinforcement. Simply put, motivation is what initiates, guides, and sustains our behavior. When we talk about motivation, it's important to understand what the word really means. The term motive comes from a Latin word that means to move. So, motivation can be seen as the force that moves or drives our behavior. There are many words we often use that relate to motivation, like wants, desires, needs, drives, goals, aims, and ambitions. All of these express the idea of motivation, though each has a slightly different nuance. Simply put, motivation is an internal state that pushes an organism to work toward a goal. This internal drive is often triggered or influenced by things happening around us. According to Fisher, a motive is basically a combination of an impulse to take action, along with some sense of direction or purpose behind that action. This means motivation isn't random, it's directed towards achieving something specific. Motives are the internal forces that drive our behavior and actions. The word motive means that which moves a person to act. A motive can be understood as an energetic force or tendency that encourages a person to satisfy needs, achieve goals, or fulfill desires. Motives may be learned or innate. They are expressed through our needs, desires, wishes, and aspirations. According to Carroll, a need gives rise to one or more motives directed toward a goal. Rosen, Fox, and Gregory explained motives as a readiness to respond in certain ways. In general, motives are inner states or feelings that activate behavior. Motivation is essentially an internal and personal feeling. It originates within each individual as a psychological phenomenon that drives our actions. It's important to understand that motivation is closely tied to our needs. Without needs, there's no motivation to act. In other words, motivation directs our behavior toward achieving specific goals based on what we require or desire. Another key point is that motivation is continuous. Since human wants and needs are unlimited, the drive to fulfill them never really stops. This ongoing nature keeps us striving for more. Motivation can also be positive or negative. Positive motivation encourages us by offering rewards or incentives, while negative motivation uses the threat of penalties or disincentives to influence behavior. Both play a role depending on the situation. Lastly, motivation is a planned process because each individual responds differently. No two people are motivated in exactly the same way. This makes motivation a complex psychological concept that requires thoughtful planning to be effective. Motivation is really the driving force behind everything we do. It guides our behavior and influences the choices we make every day. When we understand how motivation works and what affects it, we can use that knowledge to improve many areas of our lives. For one, it can boost our efficiency, helping us stay focused and productive as we work toward our goals. Motivation also pushes us to take action instead of just thinking about what we want to achieve. Beyond productivity, strong motivation encourages us to adopt healthier habits, which in turn can improve our overall well-being. It also plays a key role in helping us steer clear of harmful behaviors like excessive risk-taking or addiction. Ultimately, when we have control over our motivation, we feel more in control of our lives, leading to greater happiness and satisfaction. So understanding motivation isn't just useful, it's essential for personal growth and success. Motivation is made up of three key components: activation, persistence, and intensity. Activation refers to the moment we decide to start a behavior, like enrolling in courses to work towards your degree. Persistence is all about continuing to put in effort even when things get tough, such as attending class despite being tired from a late night. Lastly, intensity involves how much energy and focus you put into reaching your goal. For instance, one student might just barely get by, while another engages actively in class and seeks out extra learning opportunities. Understanding these components helps us better grasp what drives our actions and how to maintain motivation over time. When we talk about drive and need in motivation, it's important to understand their differences. Drive refers to basic physiological urges like hunger, thirst, or sex. These are our body's way of signaling that something essential is required. Needs, on the other hand, relate to more complex motives such as achieving goals, experiencing love, gaining social approval, or attaining status. Motivation itself is made up of both motives and drives. Motives are personal and internal expressions of what a person needs. Now, when we look outside of the individual, incentive and reinforcement come into play. These are external factors that influence motivation by encouraging or rewarding certain behaviors. So, while drives and motives come from within, incentives and reinforcements act from the outside to shape how we act. Understanding the interplay between these internal and external elements is key to grasping human motivation fully. Now, let's talk about the motivational cycle, which consists of 3 key stages. First, there is a motivating state, something that drives or pushes a person towards a goal. This could be an internal feeling or external stimulus that sparks the desire to act. Next is the behavior itself, the actions taken in order to achieve that goal. Finally, the cycle concludes with the actual achievement of the goal, which provides a sense of satisfaction or relief. It's important to note that goals can vary widely, they can be positive or negative, and some are innate while others are learned. For example, hunger and thirst are positive, innate goals that motivate us to eat or drink. On the other hand, negative goals involve avoidance or escape, like the desire to avoid pain. Learned goals come from experience and environment. A learned positive goal might be money motivation, where someone is driven by the idea of financial reward. Conversely, a learned negative goal could be fear, which motivates a person to avoid certain behaviors, such as avoiding a situation that previously caused a painful shock. Understanding these aspects helps us see how motivation operates in complex and varied ways. Now let's talk about the different types of motives. There are 3 main categories we need to understand. First, we have primary motives, which are also called biological, basic, or unlearned motives. These are essential for our survival and include things like hunger, thirst, avoiding pain, the need for sleep and air, waste elimination, regulating our body temperature, and sex. These motives are innate and drive us to meet our fundamental physical needs. Next, we have stimulus motives. These relate to our desire for activity and mental stimulation. They include curiosity, exploration, manipulation of our environment, and physical contact. These motives push us to interact with and learn more about the world around us. Lastly, there are secondary motives, also known as social or learned motives. These are shaped by our experiences and society. Examples include achievement, affiliation or the need to connect with others, aggression, power, and again curiosity, which can be both primary and secondary. These motives influence our behaviors in social settings and personal ambitions. Understanding these different types helps us see why we do what we do, whether it's to satisfy basic physical needs, stimulate our mind, or fulfill social and personal goals. As we wrap up, I want to thank you for your attention and participation throughout this presentation.